Hey everybody, it's Paige Evans, and I have a new process video to share with you today for Scrapbook.com for National Scrapbook Day, focusing on embellishments, all the little bits and pieces that make layouts unique and wonderful, like that die cut says. So I started by die cutting this sunburst background. This is one of my cut files found in the Silhouette Design Store, and I'm using gesso and applying a pretty thick layer to each of the rays onto a pattern paper from my Pick Me Up collection with pink paisley. I believe it's the B side of paper 24. So apply gesso to all of the rays and then let it dry. You'll just see me finishing it up here quickly. Just quickly get a nice thick layer. Peel it off, let it dry, and then this will help the paper from warping too much. Now I'm coming in with watercolors and applying a different color to each ray. I wasn't exactly trying to match colors with Pick Me Up. I know the colors in Pick Me Up are very dark and bold and bright, and here I'm mixing pastels because I didn't want the background to be the focus of my layout. It's more just another interesting layer. So that's why I'm not using such dark and bright colors as you'll find in Pick Me Up, but they still will match because they're like the pastel versions that you'll find in the collection. And just mixing colors to match and adding it inside the sun rays, the same sun rays that I used to apply the gesso. I die cut it from a pretty thick cardstock so that it wouldn't warp as I was adding all these layers of paint. And then I'm gonna come in with white acrylic paint for another layer on top and splash it around. I'm using a Vicky Bouton paintbrush to do all this painting. I love the quality of her brushes. I used my sewing machine to create stitching at the edge of all of the rays, trying to use a matching colored thread. I used straight stitches and zigzag stitches, and this creates lots of texture. So I pulled some colors of pattern paper from my Pick Me Up collection, and I'm trimming 2.5-inch squares. I'm only going to use 9 squares, but I trimmed a few more because I just wanted to see what they would look like. Here I am trying to figure out the placement and arrangement of how I want these 9 squares to look on the background. And right now you'll see they're centered on the rays, the sunburst background, but I actually end up centering the squares into the middle of the layout itself. I'm using 5 photos of my kids, Fox and Jane, from Easter, and now I'm getting into the embellishing part. So this is the 2x2 paper pad. There's a pack of 2. One has patterns and one has phrases, and this is going to be another layer behind each photo. So I'm just going through the little 2x2 paper pad, finding a color and pattern that I think will coordinate or work well with the photo and also the pattern paper underneath it. For more texture and interest, I'm going to rough up the edges a little bit with some scissors and my fingernails. I know there's official tools for doing this, but I don't actually own one, but I think scissors do the trick pretty good. So just going with it. If the corners tear, that's okay. I like the interest that it adds. I'm going to trim off this single edge with a scalloped border punch. And now I'm coming in with more embellishments. On this square, I'm going to stitch a row of sequins. This is from my haberdashery multi-pack in Pick Me Up. There are a bunch of sequins, and I stitched a couple times through them to attach them in place permanently. I tore off the bottom of this tag and tucked it behind the middle. Also added a floral die cut layer, a blue heart button, and at this point I'm just going through everything that I have in this collection. Chipboard stickers, die cuts, buttons, sequins, journaling spots, and creating layers in all of these different sections. And I could have kept going at this for hours and hours. I mean, I feel like there's always something else that I could add, but at some point I just had to call it good. And my daughter loves birds. Jane is obsessed with birds, so I think I sneakily add a bird onto every single layout that I make with photos of her, just because I think she'll appreciate that as she's growing up. She'll always love pointing out the birds. So I tucked that crane up under the photo of her on the top left. And now I'm coming in with washi tape, adding it as a layer underneath that die cut, trimming off a little piece of the gold scalloped washi tape and tucking it under. As you'll notice, I haven't glued anything down yet because I like to figure out the placement of everything before I glue things down permanently, because I always like to move things around, figure out where I want this and that to go, and if it's glued down permanently, I can probably find a way to fix it so it doesn't tear, but I find it's just easier to wait until I like everything. Now coming in with puffy stickers. There's teeny tiny flowers and stars and hearts in this package of puffy stickers, and I can always find a place to add these teeny tiny embellishments. Tucking in a puffy sticker camera under there and a puffy sticker moth, adding even more washi tape. See, I can just keep going and going. It's just so fun to create all these layers. I'm trimming off the edges of this frame sentiment sticker, so it's just got that fun decorative edge, and tucking it under the top left and bottom right sections. I did add a bit more stitching to the edges because I felt like the zigzag stitching was hidden underneath the layers. So just on the edges I added more zigzag stitching. And from the rub-ons, I'm going to apply a rub-on to this photo directly into the white space. So I love having a grid design because I feel like you can layer on the embellishments pretty heavily, but it still is clean because of the divided lines in between each section. Now I'm adding even more buttons. Just keep going and going. I ended up only using 3 buttons, I believe, going diagonally across the layout. Now I am writing journaling with a .03 black precision pen on that journaling spot in the top middle section. Just writing a little snippet about Easter, how fun it was to take their pictures all around. I actually used 4 buttons. You can see there's one on the top right, middle, and bottom left. The final step, I'm going to add some gold baker's twine through this tag at the top, knotting it through and then trimming the excess and splaying the edges with the tip of my scissors. And then I'm going to tie a baker's twine bow from the same baker's twine, and then use a glue dot to attach it underneath the wonderful. Just had to figure out where I wanted it, where it looked best, and decided it looked the best right there. All right, that is the finished layout. I hope you are inspired to use your embellishments in a fun and unique way, and make sure to enter the challenge, and I will see you again very soon. Have a wonderful day.